Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Yes, I Can Living. Super excited to have you here. I'm glad that you have joined us. We've got a great episode planned for you. Now, before we get going, I just want to remind you, if you have not subscribed to Yes, I Can Living, be sure to hop on over to yesicanliving.com and subscribe. You'll get our weekly email newsletter with all kinds of fantastic articles and inspiration and things that are going on. And you'll get notice of all of our upcoming podcasts. They do drop each week. And so you'll get the link and all the information so that you can be continuously inspired and motivated in living that Yes, I Can life for you. So today we have Sheri Fink, and Sheri and I go back a ways. We were just catching up with that as we got started here. So I'm excited to have her back. Sheri is an inspirational speaker, a #1 best-selling author, and president of Whimsical World, an innovative brand with a mission to inspire, delight, and educate children of all ages while planting seeds of self-esteem and high achievement, so needed for our children. She is best known for her beloved The Little series books, The Little Rose, The Little Unicorn, The Little Monster. I think that's when I met you way back then, way back when your first one. But Sheri's newest nonfiction book, Instagrateful, Finding Your Bliss in a Social Media World, is an innovative self-help book on how to maximize passion, peace, power, prosperity, and panache in your life in today's hyper-busy, highly distracted social media world. An author of 14 best-selling books in multiple genres, Sheri travels the world inspiring audiences of all ages to be themselves, dream bigger dreams, and take action to live their best lives. Featuring her unique blend of empowerment and enthusiasm, she shares her inspirational journey along with strategies on overcoming adversity and how to live life with passion and aliveness. Now, CBS Los Angeles selected Sheri as one of the top 3 authors in her local area, a distinction she shares with Dean Koontz. Her books have been honored with multiple awards, including 3 gold medals in the Reader's Favorite International Book Awards and 4 Gold Mom's Choice Awards, honoring the best in family-friendly entertainment. And she will give you some information at the end here on how to actually connect with her personally. But Sheri, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, it's nice to have you back. So tell our audience, or share with us a little bit about, how you started your business, why, what was the reason when you started way back when?
Well, I actually started out in the corporate world. I was climbing the corporate ladder for a while. And when I got to the top of the ladder, I realized it was against the wrong wall. And I actually had this kind of soul searching period of time where I'm like, if I'm not this corporate person, who am I? And while I was going through that, I had a gift of adversity where I was being bullied by another woman in my office, and I didn't know how to handle it. And I did not handle it well. I was driving to work one day and I was crying because I didn't want to go. And I had this like a moment of total surrender where I was like, help me. I will do anything to change this. And that's when this little idea came to me about a rose that grows up in a weed bed, and because she's different, thinks that she's a weed. And then that story wrote through me in the car on the way to work. And I made a deal with myself that 1 year from that day, I would either be working for someone else, doing something else, or working for myself. And that's the one I really, really wanted. And it wasn't until, I guess, 2 years later when I decided to actually make that into a book, when the magic really started happening. Before that, there was just a lot of panic. Lots of panic before the magic.
As there always is.
When I finally had the courage to really pull that story out of a drawer and publish it, it's called The Little Rose. 2 weeks later, it became a #1 bestseller on Amazon. Then, through word of mouth, stayed at #1 for over 60 weeks. And that just made my little girl dream come true. And I thought, well, maybe I could do something with this. And I had another idea and another idea. And, my background was in marketing in the corporate world. So I knew that if I was going to do more than one book, I should build a brand. So before the second book released, I had created a brand and I called it The Whimsical World of Sheri Fink. And then years later, I met my husband doing a school visit, who is also a children's author. His name is Derek Taylor Kent. And when we got married, we decided to combine both of our imaginations and our characters and to create a brand together. So we took the Whimsical World of Sheri Fink and we evolved it to just Whimsical World. And that is where the magic really began because then we had both of our energy pouring into this thing that we could grow together. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, that's been, let's see, I started, I released the first book, The Little Rose, in 2011. And here we are, 2021. So it's been
Right.
over 10 years now, just over. And
Wow.
yeah, and I still have inspiring ideas and I'm excited. And we just keep growing the brand. And our goal is to keep innovating and to keep doing things that help people, especially kids, fall in love with reading
Mhm.
and their possibilities. So I
Right.
know that's a topic that you feel very strongly about.
I do very strongly about possibilities and opportunities and self-esteem and confidence, right? I mean, if more little girls or little boys as well, right? If children would be read more books like that and understand that they can do anything, right? If they set their mind to it and the opportunities are there. And, I was listening to a podcast on my drive today. It was talking all about that, right? And how it kind of sets us when we're young. And so the fact that you've created this, really targeting that younger audience and bringing them the joy and the possibility and the passion. I love that. I can see the banner in the background, the Whimsical World. And I'm assuming down in the corner, I can't quite see it, but it looks like it's you and your husband. Would that be
Yes,
right?
it is. And
Okay,
on
I
the other
love.
banner is one of the most magical days of my life where I
Oh,
get to
yes.
be a mermaid.
Yes.
Best job ever.
Yes, I think I've actually been in person with you when you were dressed with yeah,
That's
yes. So much fun, so much fun. So, that brings me to an interesting question because I didn't realize the two of you had combined your company. So how does it, how has it been for you in combining that, right? Really taking that brand and sharing it, and working together.
Well, at first, it was scary because I had done everything myself and he had done everything himself. And of course, we had our own different ways of working. But when we started coming up with the vision for the company, I was like, oh, this is so much better than anything I could have created on my own. And
Mhm.
he brings his unique talents and skills, and I bring my knowledge and skills. And together, it. I don't know. It's like lightning, you know? It's just so exciting. And the fact that we have the same goal and we work together but separately, like we work from home and we have two separate offices in the house, but we meet together a couple times a day. What do you think of this idea? What do you think of that? It's so great because I was a solopreneur for all those years before. So I think it's pretty exciting and also it's overcoming a fear because when we first started I was like, oh, well, I was holding so tight to this brand and everything that I created in it, and now it's like we're really open. Like, I've written in multiple genres. My husband, he's so creative, he's so inspiring. Like, he writes all kinds of different genres, he writes all different age groups, he writes musicals, he writes songs, he is just writing screenplays. Like, he writes things and he gets them done. And
Mhm.
that is so important for creative people to be
Yeah.
partnered with someone who's not just creative, but also has that business side to them. And in that way, we are perfectly matched.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because many people, they've got that creative side, but then the business piece of it, right?
Yeah.
The right brain, left brain thing, Let me ask you, is there one tip you could give our listeners on actually, making that, husband, wife, significant, um, other or whatever situation work, or one thing that you could share with the audience that you think would help? Anybody thinking about that?
I would say find something you can say yes to. You know, we all have great ideas and we have so many of them, we can't do all of them. And sometimes an idea is just good and not great. So it's very helpful. I know for me, like, I'm a sensitive artist, right? So when I have ideas, when it's just like, that's not going to work, that hurts my feelings, which
Mhm.
is silly, right? Because it's just an idea. It's not personal, but it feels personal because you have the artistic side. But if you
Right.
find something within the idea that you can say yes to, or you say, well, that's a good idea, and what if we built on that? You know,
Hmm.
or
Right.
what if we put that, we have a thing called the percolating lot, which in the business world, they had the parking lot. And you never wanted your idea to go to the parking lot because the parking lot basically meant, I hear your idea and it's no good, so we're going to park it over here where no one's ever going to see it again, right?
I love
Stay
that.
out of the way.
Yeah.
The percolating lot is where ideas go to grow. We can't write all the books right away. So we put them in the percolating lot. We work on the thing we're working on, we stay focused. And this over here is the percolating lot. And I can tell you, like during the pandemic, we really pulled from that percolating lot. We were like, oh, video books, yes, we finally have the time. Audiobook editions, yes, we finally have the space and the quiet. There were a lot of things that were on that kind of a wish list that we finally got to start focusing on and actually finished. So I would say find something you can say yes to, or an aspect of whatever the idea is that you can move forward with. Because who doesn't want to work with somebody who's always finding some way to work with something you said, right?
Right. Absolutely. I love that, the percolating lot. And, I mean, that's almost like the shiny object syndrome, right? Having a journal or something and being able to put it in there, right? And nothing ever has to be done right now, but when the time comes, what a great analogy there. So I'm sure since 2011 and the number of years that you've been in it, I'm sure you have faced your fair share of challenges. So what what challenges have you had to face? What obstacles have you had to overcome? And how have you gone about that?
Let's think of one that's very recent. How about the pandemic?
Oh boy. Yeah, there you go. Exactly.
Everyone's big obstacle.
It is.
Is really hard. Like it's very hard to write and publish a book. It is much harder to do it during a pandemic. Instagrateful, which you mentioned earlier, I'll just show the cover here. This is a book. It's my most personal work because it's my personal story and how I've overcome things in the past. But I found myself like having to daily give myself talks about overcoming current obstacles during the pandemic because it was so distracting, right? When it started happening, I didn't know what was going on. So I was like reading a lot more online than I would normally do. And then it's so distracting because it's scary. It's just, you live through it. Everybody knows.
Yes,
So
yes.
trying to write an uplifting book that inspires people to take action no matter what during a time when you're like, I don't know what's going to happen exactly. And then, your printer's saying, well, it could take a while to get your books. And you're like, do it anyway. It'll be great. And then like literally takes 6 months to get your books.
Wow.
That's insane. Like it doesn't normally take that long. And, things got held up at the port because of closures and because of lack of staff and all kinds of like really understandable issues. But it affects your production timeline. It affects your marketing. It affects everything to do with the book coming out. Not to mention, we're all going through the health aspects of it and the fear and, all of that. So one of the things that I was doing as I was finishing that book in order to publish it is I was like, let me focus on the long term. Let me play the long game. All we have to do is outlast the pandemic. That's it. Just outlast it.
Right? Which was only going to last a week or two, but yes, okay.
It was only going to be 6 months, but it's a little longer than that, but we're still, we just have to outlast it. So I'm like, okay, well, what can I do to make my home the most comforting sanctuary during this time? Luckily we both work from home, so we were very, very, very blessed in that way. But, there were little things that like we hadn't done in the house that we could do because we had more time. And I was like, well, I want to make the upstairs balcony a bistro, with the cafe lights and the table. We had all the supplies. We just hadn't put them out there.
Yes,
we were
right.
busy, so we made this little bistro cafe environment that we could eat in. So it made us feel more like, we weren't just at the dining table every single day and meal. That was nice. And, I was like, well, I want to feel connected to my family, even though they're all the way across the country in Virginia. So I would make sure to call each person at least once a week, to have that time to just really connect, not to talk about anything in particular, but just kind of spend time together. We started doing Zoom birthdays and Zoom everything that everybody else did too, but we weren't doing those before. So I was missing my family's birthdays. And so I feel kind of in a weird way, like we've spent more time together than I would have if I went to see them once or twice a year
Right.
because we've done all these Zoom activities together. We
Right.
started doing Zoom game nights with our friends and everything virtual.
Right.
The other thing that the pandemic took away from us that I'm very excited to bring back in the new year and has been an extreme challenge is live events.
Yes.
Because,
Right.
oh my gosh, so much of our income comes from speaking and school visits and book sales at Comic Cons and festivals and writers conferences and you name it. We were doing at the peak, we were doing 3 to 5 events a week.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, which is why we weren't able to make our balcony a bistro. So, not having the events has really hurt.
Hmm.
But the silver lining was we were able to go to that percolating lot and say, oh, we want to create a Whimsical World book club. Well, what do we want it to look like? Let's spend the time, let's invest it to really develop it. So we did. We did a whole new website. It had been like one of those energy drain things where you're like, yeah, one day we got to sit down and really think that out and do it. And we finally did it. It's these projects that are massive amounts of work, but it's just focus. And you
Right.
don't have the time to focus on it because you're busy doing the other stuff. And suddenly we had the time.
Right.
So I actually felt pretty good, at the end of last year because I was like, wow, we got audiobooks, ebooks, this. And then this year we cleaned up the rest of the list. So now we need to make a new percolating lot.
That's always good, right? When we can clear out and yeah.
Because you
So let
can't
me ask you this. I mean, you mentioned how, I mean, it was a difficult time for many people, the anxiety, the stress, right? And finding the good in it, absolutely. When I hear from women now, the Yes I Can women in the community, there's still a lot of anxiety out there. There's still a lot of uncertainty, and people are struggling to find that motivation, and especially as a creative with writing and doing all those kinds of things. Sometimes it's harder, I think, to be creative when there is that stress and anxiety and the swirl that's going on in our world, right? So, what do you do to inspire you?
I think the biggest thing is the self-care. Because if you're taking care of yourself and nurturing, and it's even more important when you're going through stressful times, but like if I'm doing my weekly bubble bath and I'm giving myself the gift of a nap when I really, really need it, if I'm listening to myself and saying no when I really want to say no, I feel more creatively open. Like I'm more open to inspiration so that when it comes, I can take advantage of it. And I think the other thing is like, I decided at the beginning of this year that when I look back on this year, no matter what's going on in the outside world, I want to feel proud of it. I don't
Mhm.
want to look back like it's a wasted opportunity. I have been reading the news every single day and it would suck me in. Like I'd read the headline, I'm like, oh, what is that? And I was never a news reading girl, but it felt important because it's like there's a lot of unpredictability. Let me get these different perspectives. Let me help understand all of the issues. And then I came to the conclusion a few weeks ago. I was like, I am wasting my life reading about things that I literally have no impact on.
Right.
The things
Right.
that I can have impact on are not related to this at all. And if I go back at the end of this year and I'm like, well, I didn't write any books, but I did read 30 hours of news a week, am I going to feel proud of that? No,
Right.
it's
Yes.
embarrassing. So I'm like, I need to mind my own business.
It's easy to get sucked in, isn't it?
It's
It's very
so
easy to get
easy.
sucked in.
After a few days of not reading it at all, I was like, what is this? I have free time. Oh, wait a second. I have an idea I want to write. You
Yeah,
know,
there you go. The creativity came back.
yes,
Yes.
you gotta
I
create
love
the space. And it's not just physical space, it's mind space, it's calendar space. It's just taking care of yourself so you feel so loved up that when something comes, you have the space to handle it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on the self-care piece. Absolutely. That's the number one pillar of the of Yes I Can. So let me ask you this. How do you define success?
Mm, probably differently than most people. For me, success aligns with my 5 values, my top values. So love and connection. So it's feeling connected, whether that's with your spouse or your family or your friends or your fans or whatever that is for you, love and connection. then it's fitness and well-being. If I'm not taking care of myself, and I'm not talking about like exercising like a crazy person, I'm just saying, drinking enough water and getting enough sleep and just valuing how I feel, then it's like I don't create good things. I have to come from a place of goodness to create something that connects with people the way that I want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's lifestyle freedom, which to me is like business success and financial serenity. It's putting the structures in place, like, the dreaded budget and spending plan, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that you have a secure future no matter what, and giving yourself that freedom within your schedule so that you can take a day off when you need it. Contribution and legacy, I always need to know that I'm making a difference. It's very important to me. And I get to do that through my books and sometimes through social media and then direct messages and things like that. Like, it's very fulfilling. And then fun, travel, and adventure. I'm a person that even if I'm staying home, I need something on the calendar that I get to look forward to. Like, I'm doing a virtual painting party with my sister. In a few weeks, we both bought a ceramic item and we're going to paint it for the holidays. Like,
Fun.
we did a baking thing virtually last year. Like, we just, I have to have something to look forward to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as I have those things, I stay inspired, I stay feeling good. My quality of living is better, even though I'm mostly a house cat right now.
Oh, but I love that. It's finding the things that really fill you up,
Yes,
right?
it's
And once
fulfilling.
you're right, if you fill yourself up, then that's when you can pour into others or pour out into your books, which are going to inspire others, right? I mean, there's
Exactly.
so much to be said about that.
And it's,
So,
it's fairly simple, right? Like, I want to feel fulfilled.
yeah.
And those are the things that make me feel well-rounded and like I have something to give.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great tip. And, for everybody to kind of give a thought to what those things are for them, right? I mean, sometimes I think we get so busy and running so fast that we lose sight of that, right? And then even in this last couple of years, when the pandemic and the outer world is, infringing so much in our personal space and our head space, and all that, finding the way to block that out and then, recalibrate ourselves. So I have a feeling there may be some people who want to connect with you further. So can you share with us where they would find you? What's the best way to do that?
Sure. Well, you can find me on my website at sherifink.com. You can find me on Facebook at Sheri Fink Fan, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sheri_Fink.
Love it. Awesome. Okay. So my final question for you, which I ask everyone, is what makes you a yes, I can woman?
It's a juicy question. I would say that I have always been a person who is a big dreamer and also an action taker. Even if I'm afraid, I will find a way to take little steps in the direction of that goal and that dream. And that has really served me well throughout my entire life. And sometimes it's a big leap, it's not a baby step, right? But as long as I'm moving in the right direction, you can leap off the cliff and trust that you're going to form wings or that a bridge is going to form or someone's going to catch you. Something good is going to happen as long as you're moving in the direction of that big dream. And that's why I think I'm a yes, I can woman.
I love that. And so true, right? Just even the tiniest baby step every
Yes.
day towards those big dreams and those big goals and that best life for you. Oh. Sheri, thank you so much for being with us today. It's a pleasure spending time with you and hearing more about your story and all that you've been up to in the last, well, gosh, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years since we spoke previously. I hope you all connect with Sheri. Again, I'll put her links in the post below or in the chat below, and whatever platform you're looking at. And thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your inspiration, and really making a difference in the world which is what you are doing with your books. Yeah, exactly.
Thank
Right.
you.
Oh, awesome. All right. And for all of you listeners, thank you for joining us again for another episode of Yes, I Can Living. Again, be sure to get over there and subscribe, like us over on our Facebook group, the Yes, I Can Women group. Interact. You can meet some amazing people like Sheri in the group. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day and live your best Yes, I Can life. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Okay.